I think a lot of fans can agree that Luvdisc is one of the worst Pokemon. And it hurts to say this because I actually love the little dude and I ain't gonna tolerate any slander. Luvdisc is a single stage Pokemon introduced in Generation 3, just a funny little fish in the big oceans of Hoenn. As with any new batch of Pokemon, not all of them have to be full 3-stage evolution lines with immense marketing potential. If they all were, then things would start to get pretty boring. Some of them can just be funny fish. So Luvdisc has got to be one of the simplest Pokemon in terms of design, literally shaped like a heart with a face. It is inspired by various tropical fish like the discus fish or the ones that just kiss each other. And we see that reflected in the fact it appears in Hoenn and its Pokédex entries mention it populates warm and shallow waters. When you look at all the water types we met in Ruby and Sapphire, I actually think Luvdisc fits in pretty well in the group. And despite its stats not being anything to write home about, it's far from useless because it has a 50% chance of holding a heart scale, which you can then exchange to have your Pokemon remember a move they had forgotten or otherwise not had the chance to learn in the first place. At least until the more modern games made this feature a lot more accessible, which I honestly can't complain about. And while you might think that Luvdisc is at least saved by its evolution, Alomomola, that just isn't the case. Despite these two being pink fish Pokemon, there is no relation. And really, Generation 5 added the most Pokemon out of any game, so of course there's going to be many that resemble previous Pokemon as callbacks or as a way to reinvent the concept. I think it's a dumb complaint to say that Luvdisc should have evolved into Alomomola or anything similar to some of the other Unova Pokemon. I mean, I can't believe that Kiwi Bird doesn't evolve into Ostrich, they're practically the same. Why doesn't regular cow evolve into Yak? That's a genuine crime. These two Pokemon have different roles and even different inspirations. I think Alomomola does what it does perfectly and stands on its own, as does Luvdisc. Though I do think that Luvdisc should have gotten a stat buff or some better moves during the transitions between generations. I mean, they even added it to Scarlet and Violet for some reason. You couldn't just drop a few extra points literally anywhere? Like, it already learns a handful of fairy type moves, you couldn't add that typing to it? Though when it comes to ideas for a Luvdisc evolution, I do believe there isn't too much you can do that wouldn't compromise its current design. So I think the right choice would have been some kind of buff to Luvdisc as it existed. But if you are in Paldea, you can catch one pretty easy. They're out in the waters around the region. Finally, HD Luvdisc. I tend to have strange taste in Pokemon. While there are the big dragons that I love and most anyone would understand them being my favorite, I also somehow come around to appreciating the weird and unloved Pokemon. I do unironically love Luvdisc for being nothing special in particular. The Luvdisc cards I see in the TCG always have such a nice color and vibe to them that screams calm tropical summer. I have a P.O. box, by the way. Wait, Synchro Draw?
I'm teaching these fish to Synchro Summon!
I Synchro Summon a monster!
Of all Pokemon, they decided to make a Luvdisc plush that I stumbled upon at Target one day, and as far as Pokemon plushes go, it's one of my favorites. I think it's slightly smaller than being life-size, but it feels like the perfect Pokemon you can just give to someone as a gift, which apparently is a thing. Unfortunately, Luvdisc isn't one of those Pokemon that can be redeemed by some deep lore. For the most part, Luvdisc's story has been that it's a cute little fish Pokemon shaped like a heart meant for happy couples to show their affection toward each other. It's like you turn Valentine's Day into a fish. Also, in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, the young couple trainer class have shirts with mirrored Luvdisc on them, so when they're next to each other, it looks like the Luvdisc are kissing. That's such a good idea. Me and who? Over in the anime, Luvdisc didn't get too much love in the main series, but in Pokemon Chronicles, it has a whole episode dedicated to them. I've brought this series up once or twice, and I'd love to discuss it even more at some point, but for now, Episode 16, Luvdisc is a many-splendored thing. We see Tracy catching up with Misty and Daisy at the Cerulean Gym, as they've just gotten two Luvdisc named Kassarin and Loverin. These two aren't as lovey-dovey as you would expect. But at the same time, Butch and Cassidy are tasked with stealing the Luvdisc. It's a cute little episode getting to see what these characters are up to during the Advanced series. And while there is some shipping fuel, it's mostly about these two Luvdisc coming together to save the day. There's a high-speed chase at one point as they try catching up to Team Rocket, which is just great. Like, if you need a reason to watch this series, this is it. Also, apparently Luvdisc can just combine at the lips and glide like a butterfly. Look, I'm not gonna question it, because Kassarin really pulled through and became the hero alongside Loverin. The final battle has Misty and Daisy combining them both, and it makes for a fun episode. It really makes me think that Chronicles could have lasted even longer, or that Misty and Tracy could have had their own full spin-off together with Butch and Cassidy as the reoccurring antagonist. But anyway, as an episode to showcase Luvdisc in the anime, I think it worked really well. At the end of the day, Luvdisc is probably one of the few Pokemon that manages to be so unremarkable yet so inoffensive. Nothing super amazing, but nothing absolutely atrocious. Just a funny little guy with a barely passable gimmick. As we get more and more Pokemon, it'll kind of just continue to fade further into obscurity, though I don't know if giving it an evolution would be what's best. I'm all for it and you'll find me using one on my team should it happen, but it might still not be very popular. This isn't so much a case of people desperately wanting a Luvdisc evolution, but more so that people think that it should have happened. Whatever does happen, I am still a fan. But let me know what you think about our funny fish friend and if you'll be giving one to somebody this Valentine's Day. 'Tis better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. Thank you to every channel member for your continued support, especially the great gators like Gavnuts, Justin R, Cosmo Zero, Michaela, Mr. Pig Puncher, Phantom Pyro, Quago, Volity, and Pastel Blood. If you would also like to support, get a name shoutout out here as well as access to emotes used in comments, live streams, and also early videos, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter for more memes. Anyway, this has been GatorX, and I'll catch you all later.
Roses are red, violets are blue.
We'll both be rich when we catch.
Today, celebrate Valentine's Day with Team Rocket as they deliver trouble to your favorite kids' WB stars.
Isn't it romantic?
Plus, catch 2 all-new Pokemon adventures. It's Team Rocket's Valentine's Day, starting right now on Kids WB.